We're having technical difficulties and we're talking about tech. My name is Nadiyah Stone. This is Cardinal Stone, your weekly source of positive news. We're actually in the middle of an episode interviewing Nadiyah Johnson of the Milky Way Tech Hub. I'm going to hop right back into the interview as soon as she hops back on. I am not for sure what happened with the live, but here she is, and we'll just start it right back up. Tech.
There it is. Tech making us look how we look. Sorry about that. Here I'm talking to myself and I'm like, are you there? Sorry about that.
And I'm like, did my live just end?
No worries. But yeah, I was just elaborating on how we go about building partnerships with Milky Way Tech Hub. And it's really making sure that we find individuals and organizations that are aligned to our main mission of centering Black and Brown people, centering equity and justice, and leveraging technology to do that. One thing that I've learned, and I would love to, I want others to know this as well, is that it is not a good idea to work hard to partner with organizations that are not aligned with your mission. It takes 10 times as long to get them to be partners. So one thing that Milky Way Tech Hub has done is we've created a membership specifically for individuals, but also corporations. And let me tell you, the corporations that are aligned with our mission, the sales cycle is, it could be as short as 1 to 2 months. But the corporations that are just legacy companies, can't even tell you what equity is if they wanted to. It's 2 years, 2 3 years. And so you have to know who your customer is and make sure that you're targeting the right individuals, or you're going to be spinning your wheels, wasting your time. And as you know, time is money. So that's one hard lesson that I've had to learn. And so we're really coalition building, collective building. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, like horizontal networking, finding organizations that have the same fire and the same interest to build upward.
No, I love it. I'm gonna stop you right there. I just want to rewind. So, Nadiyah Stone, Cardinal Stone, your weekly source of positive news. We're on the second to last episode of CNS IG Live with Positive Black Women with Nadiyah Johnson of the Milky Way Tech Hub. We started about 20 minutes ago, so y'all missed some really great gems, but we have some more to come. One thing you've been really good at is branding yourself. Like, just look at your shirt. You literally, you got your logo on your shirt. Have you always, when you started your business, did you have a background in business, or like how have you been able to, just be a good business owner?
No business training. I didn't go to school for business at all. So definitely YouTube University for sure. And I think also one thing that I've learned is that success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. So what you do is you find people who are successful in your industry, in the same realm that you're in, and look at how they navigate, how they move. So for me, someone that I would take a look at is Morgan DeBond of Blavity and Afrotech, right? I mean, she's someone that you would probably look at as well, given, Black media focus. Or Jessica Matthews, who's another Black woman in tech. Angela Benton, building communities, Black and Brown communities in tech. So I take a look at them and I see, what are they doing right, and how can I mirror some of the things that they're doing, and also make sure that I'm being as unique as possible and being my authentic self. And I think that that's kind of where me being an artist it kind of comes into play. So I think it's important as business people to embrace our many dimensions, right? Yes, I'm a woman in tech, I'm an engineer, and I'm an artist. Mm-hmm. And so one of the ways that I love to express or share the vision of Milky Way Tech Hub is through art. And that's kind of one of the universal things, right? And so I started to draw spaceships. I started to leverage my digital illustrations to show planets circulating the city, and UFOs circulating the city. And eventually I drew something that looked like this. Turned out to be the Milky Way Tech Hub logo, a UFO hovering over the city of Milwaukee. And so that's such a unique thing to have a brand in tech, right? That it almost commands attention, right? And so I think that that's the piece is finding what's working, find those success clues, right? But then also coupling it with what makes you you.
Yeah. How do you navigate a city like Milwaukee when it comes to building a tech ecosystem? Because I feel like we're behind a lot, and then we have outsiders coming in too.
Yep.
So like, how are you going about it with your company of strategically, building this ecosystem, and what does that ecosystem look like?
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, with some bit of difficulty. Why? Because what I've observed over the last several years being an entrepreneur is that Milwaukee, while full of incredible, brilliant minds, sometimes the city collectively can be, what's the word? Small thinkers. Always want to pilot something, always want 5,000, 10,000, this or whatever, right? But never like, something that is colossal. And so when you have a brand that Milky Way, right? That's the whole freaking galaxy. I didn't say local, I didn't say city, I didn't say national or global. I said, the whole galaxy. So when you have a brand like that and you start it in such a small town city or mentality, then naturally you receive some pushback. So I've had to navigate that, and that's just me being transparent about my journey. Folks saying, okay, well, you're shooting too big, or your scope is too wide, right? And it's because they see me, and again, Black woman in tech, and they're like, maybe you should start a little bit smaller. When I go to Atlanta, when I go to DC, let me tell you,
They be like, hey,
I start sharing, they're like, bet, how can we support you? How can we make this bigger? You're not thinking big enough. And I'm like, that's not what I'm hearing from my city. So one wish that I had from, the city of Milwaukee is for us to be able to come together and collectively think bigger, and create safe spaces for Black people to think really big and not feel afraid to go for it, not feel ashamed, or not feel like they shouldn't go for because it's something that hasn't been done before. So that's one thing with the Milky Way Tech. But as we're building ecosystems, as we're building partners with corporations like American Family and Northwestern Mutual, Milwaukee Tool, Techquity, and so on, we're making sure that we're building programming that creates safe spaces for Black and Brown people to thrive with their authentic selves, but also think really big.
I'm glad you say think big, because a lot of people don't think big. It's about, okay, we have to think. A lot of people think, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to think about the content and just getting by day. But what is the overall goal? And I think a lot of people don't think bigger. Like, for me, it's not just online articles. Eventually, I'm going to develop a headquarters in Milwaukee. I've been wanting to do that since I started, and eventually, bring them around the city and be global, have different headquarters. But I think, like you said, we need to create these spaces where I can talk to people about that. I don't really have many people to talk to about this in Milwaukee, but then I travel to CNN, I travel to Wall Street Journal, and I visit these places and I've built relationships, and they believe more than if I was to go up to like the city, like, hey, how do I go about getting funding for this headquarters? They'll look at me probably like I was crazy, unless I can go get some support from somebody else who's really big.
And that's the other thing, right, that I've noticed is that once we get support from outside, then all of a sudden the city is like, oh, okay, now we back you. We got to figure out how we can back each other without getting validation from other folks, right? Why does it take Vice President Kamala to reach out to Milky Way Tech Hub for y'all to be like, oh, there's a Black tech hub here? And then me hearing from the governor and everybody else calling and saying, oh, well, I've been here, though. And it should not take the vice president of the United States of America to reach out to me for you to recognize that I've been right here in your backyard. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. Is like, we have to see the brilliance and the talent that is here, right? Or what will happen, and this is a threat, I will leave. I will leave in the next 5 years where I am embraced and supported in a way where I can thrive and start to build in the way that I need to for the future of my family, for the future of Milky Way Tech Hub and the impact that we can have on this world. And so we're always talking about, how do we stop the brain drain? Start supporting your own.
Like right now. Like, I mean, it's not that hard.
Right now.
and I do suggest moving out of Milwaukee eventually, just for a better life. Like, so I moved to Georgia a few months
For a
ago.
better life.
Yes, for a better life. It's so much. It's because okay, listen. So I'm in Georgia, and it's so many just like random things, like free things, like to do here. And I'm just like, I never even thought that. Like, why is Milwaukee just not randomly just doing stuff? Like, we have all these organizations are getting millions of dollars, but yet the streets are bland. The events are, and it's just like, you know, that's a whole nother topic. That's a whole
But
nother.
you know what? No, it's not though, because we're talking about ecosystem building. We're talking about making Milwaukee the next Black Tech Hub. So we absolutely need to have activations that make people attract people, but then make them want to stay here. So yes, in order for folks to want to stay here, you have to provide safe spaces for them to be able to dream big. And then you have to create spaces for them to want to stay here. And that sort of activation is necessary. So that's why, you know, I love what Renelle and Quay are doing with Social X.
Yes.
You know, Milwaukee does a great job of creating, you know, cool events. We need a bunch of them. And we can't have that scarcity mentality. Like, it can only be one of us. We need a bunch of them, like on every corner, like churches.
No,
because that's how it is in DC and Atlanta.
Like, even now to Juneteenth. I went to Juneteenth in Atlanta this year, and Milwaukee's been doing Juneteenth for what, 50 years or so? Yeah. But really just a street and people just walking back and forth. But in Atlanta, they're at a park and they have vendors in the middle, you know, mostly all Black, but then you could go around. They had bouncy houses, like a whole area. It was literally like a town of bouncy houses. Then they have a stage right here. They have a stage right here. They have a stage right here. We have this. And so definitely because sometimes talking about tech or sometimes talking about media isn't fun, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't have a conversation. We just have to make them more engaging. And like you said, activate the city, because by 9 o'clock, the city shut down.
Oh my God. I can't find any food. I can't find any food. I was so mad yesterday. I wanted some Starbucks. All I wanted was a matcha,
dude.
And I couldn't find it. And I was so frustrated. I'm like, why is everything closed? Why is the city so dead? I'm a young woman. I want to be out and to enjoy my youth. And it's hard when everything is shut down at 8:30. What are we doing?
Yes. Oh, we are here, man. Oh my gosh. And my birthday coming up soon, and I'm like, I'm about to be out here. I'm trying to party in Atlanta. Yeah. So but now I want to get back into talking into tech, and specifically about you kind of being a developer now. So she has Milky Way Tech Hub, which is across the street from the Sherman Phoenix. If you're not from Milwaukee, you know, it was it US Bank? It was a bank that was
it was BMO Harris.
BMO Harris, it was a bank that was redone in Milwaukee because it got burned down basically, and you know, now it's a whole bunch of Black businesses in there, and it is Milwaukee Milky Way Tech Hub Jet Constellation's office is on that same street. I'm bringing it up because not only have you just got $10,000 from Drew Holiday's fund, but now you're using that to create a co-working space. So talk to me.
Yeah. You know what? It kind of goes back to what we were just saying, creating spaces for Black people, right? For Black creatives, for Black innovators. And the more spaces we have like that, the more we're able to quickly reach that goal of making Milwaukee this Black tech mecca, or this Black innovation creatives mecca. And so, you know, we have this building. I'm working with Obi Nwabuzer, who is really the developer here, and a graduate of Acre. And you know, we want to make good of this building, this space, right? So the first phase is just this multi-use co-working event space, and the idea is that we leverage the $10,000 for this crowdfunding campaign now that we have to raise about 20,000 more, so that we can begin on the second phase, where we'll have office spaces, conference spaces, and just places. Cool, unique spaces for Black and brown folks to come together, brainstorm, and think really big.
What she didn't highlight, though, is that her office is on Fond du Lac Avenue. And for people that's not from Milwaukee, this can be seen as like the ghetto or, you know, tough or whatever, for her to intentionally, you know, have her office there and then now redevelop that to make sure that the people in that area and that, you know, that our neighborhoods know that somebody wants to give them something to do is very important, because the city is being redeveloped right now. But we all know it's downtown, basically. It's the east side. And so you can literally, driving through the north side of Milwaukee, it could be so bland. We don't have movie theaters. We don't have malls. We don't have these things. So for people like Nadiyah, for people like you, Elamine, to, you know, start developing these things like that to give us something to do to make us feel like we're worthy is amazing. So shout out to you, because you encouraged me to like get on it with my headquarters, because every time I was just talking about it earlier, and I was like, every time I talk about it I get scared because it's so big, but I know I can do it. I don't know, like for me it's like I know I can do it, I just don't even know where to start, because I talked to an investor like a year or so ago, but I don't even know like what it means. Like, do I build a portfolio? Do I just tell them my ideas? Like, where do I go from here? I just got the idea, but you know, like, what now?
Yeah. You know what? I mean, I think it just takes one step, and one step leads to the next, and then the next, and the next, right? And so I once heard that life is kind of like water, right? If you're walking, you've got like water, you're kind of walking through the water, it kind of moves around you, right? And so things begin to move as you move forward. Things will move out of your way so that you can get to where you want to be. But what so many people experience is kind of being paralyzed, right? From fear and from doubt and from just not knowing which way to go. I think that some of the best advice that I've received is just do it, just go, right? And I definitely, like I said, I think that it's important to go out, do things outside of your comfort zone. Media is your comfort zone, right? Headquarters, absolutely not. But that's how you grow. That's how you learn. That's how you trailblaze. Okay, if you're trying to be a trailblazer, you got to be able to stand the heat, right? It's hot over here. It's hot over here. Let me tell you, who I never went to school for a real estate development. I'm learning something every day. I'm learning new stuff. That's fine. That's what it's about. Because if I don't do it, right? First of all, who else is gonna do it? But also, I will never be able to see where it can go, right? And personally, I believe that our dreams intersect. They do. And so if I had not started the Milky Way Tech Hub because I was so afraid or doubtful, I don't know that I would have my dream of
I like that. See, you. No, I hope not. Please do not. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Yeah.
I'm like,
it was loading. It was loading a little bit. I was like, oh, I think I lost it.
Okay, there we go. I hope it don't cut out. I'm gonna be so upset. You know, but it's Instagram Live. You know, we can't do nothing. We still have a good conversation. So you're on this journey of making Milwaukee a tech hub, an ecosystem. But what for your big visions? What's the end goal? I guess. Do you have an end goal, or does it change? Is it ever changing?
Yeah, well, I think that it's important to always have a goal, a vision to look at, and then also be ready to flex that goal, right? And deal with the realities, right? That might shift things. For me, you know, I think the overarching goal is to make Milwaukee the next Black. I would like Milky Way Tech Hub to spearhead the charge in having the most Black businesses, tech businesses here that have actual exits, right? So yield $1 million or more, a lot more than $1 million. Of course, you know, I would love to have at least in the next 5 years about 50 partner schools and programs, and we're approaching that thanks to our partnership with Tool and American Family. Yeah, so I mean, you know, what does it look like for Milwaukee to be a Black tech mecca? It means having the infrastructure set up for Black people to thrive in tech, period, whether it be workforce or entrepreneurship. And that's the end goal, right? And so that requires a lot of partnership. It requires a lot of infrastructure. And that's what we're building out right now, which is, you know, again, why we need as much support as possible.
No, so if y'all haven't heard yet, please, you gotta follow the Milky Way Tech Hub, follow Nadiyah, so y'all can actually fund her. We're actually talking about supporting people, and I think the biggest thing is like we have no problem. And I went to Invest Fest with Earn Your Leisure, and who was it? Steve Harvey was just talking about, like, we have no problem spending money on entertainers, but we need to start, like, really investing in ourselves. And I think that's something that we really need to do, is definitely put money into, like, well, I want to see Nadiyah thrive, but have you given her $5 before? Have you actually showed up to one of the meetings before? I think those type of things, like, yes, a like and a share is very important, but actually showing up in person, I think that really matters too as well. Like, yes, you can show up to the virtual lives and stuff like that, but just really kind of just showing up in person, I think those things matter, and to really help you with your big vision, because it's gonna take a village. Like, you got the vision, but now it's gonna take the community to help push that vision forward. But I see it, so anyway, I can help. Yeah. I'm gonna help.
Absolutely. And like I said, you know, you keep going after your dream, and I keep going after mine, and they will intersect, and they have already, right? And they will continue to do so. So they're intersecting now at this level, but when you like Oprah, they're gonna intersect again. And we're going to be able to have those conversations, remember when, right? But it requires us to like really lean on each other. And you're absolutely right. I wish I had gone to Invest Fest. I forgot about it, to be honest. But I heard it was really great. And I think it is important for us to spend our money wisely on each other, supporting each other, right? Make it like a sport, right? Like, you know how you want to see your favorite team win? Like, want to see favorite business win in Milwaukee, right? Like, support it like that. Like, we need to be rocking our own jerseys, you know? There's, I recently worked with a man, his name is Rashawn Williams. He's a pretty well-known national investor or venture capitalist. And he talks about how if a young boy seems to be good at sports, specifically basketball, what happens? Well, then the parent says, okay, well, we're going to make sure you get to be a part of the basketball team at school. And we're going to make sure you have an after school basketball activity. We're going to make sure that you have access to a basketball court. We'll move somewhere where there's, you know, a accessible basketball court. We'll make sure that we buy you basketballs. We'll make sure we buy you weights. We'll make sure you have everything you need in order to be good at basketball. Let's make sure that we have the same sort of ecosystem and infrastructure for somebody who wants to thrive in media, or who wants to thrive in tech, or who wants to thrive as an artist. If somebody says, I want to be an artist, is there the same level of infrastructure around somebody who wants to be good at basketball? You know what I mean? So like, I feel like our communities, we are set up for certain things and not for others. And so that's the purpose of Milky Way Tech Hub. If somebody says, I want to be the next tech billionaire, then they need to have as many metaphorical basketballs and basketball courts and coaches and whatever else is necessary in order to get there. But right now we don't. And that's what a tech hub is. That's what a tech hub does. The same thing that the ecosystem for basketball does for those who want to, you know, thrive in basketball. Does that make sense?
No, that makes a lot of sense. We definitely invest in, I think just in the city of Milwaukee, like, I think we invest a lot in just, you know, the same things. So we'll invest in the sports, we'll invest in sometimes the music scene. But if you're not involved in those things, then it's really hard to convince people to give you funding or just to even give you support. I just had a couple more questions for you. One being about funding. I've kind of, after 2 years of being in business, like back then in 2019, I had finally created a business model. How, and that was so different for me because I never knew, I didn't even know the term. But how do you go about funding? Like, what are some key, because people always ask me, like, how do you successfully fund or whatever? Like, what are some key things that you've learned over the years about, getting funding for your business?
I think it's understanding what it is that you do, because I think sometimes businesses kind of grasp at whatever they can, and they're not sure, like, what exactly are my services? So being like really clear on what your services are, right? And then understanding who your customers are, because that's another thing, right? If you don't know what exactly it is that you do, because you're selling lemonade one day and you're selling jewelry the next, right? Then it gets really hard to understand, like, well, who's your actual target customer? So understanding like what your product is, right? Or services, programs, and then who's your actual customers. For me, it took a while for the Milky Way Tech of social impact side, which so many Black and brown people have social impact businesses or oriented businesses. And for Milky Way Tech Hub, I just knew that I wanted to make increase representation in tech. But what was the actual services? Well, programming, right? But who are the customers, right? So yes, I have customers that the individuals who, need the skills, right? But usually those individuals are looking for jobs or are in the middle of career change. So they're not my paying customers. So that's where you ask the question, well, who are your paying customers? And that's when you realize American Family or Northwestern Mutual or whatever. Like, these are paying customers. And that's how you start to tailor your services, the language around your services, to really cater to your paying customers while still being able to provide the services that you want to others, other customers that are maybe non-paying, if that makes sense. So understanding the model, like you said from the start, understanding the business model, and then just doing the guerrilla marketing, great branding to get your name out there.
It ain't easy though, because like you said, I did not know. So I entered to the blueprint and I didn't even know what an accelerator was. So that's how far behind I was in things. And they're like, well, who was your target? I'm like, well, 18 to 34-year-old, Black community, whatever. They like, but are they paying you? So I had to realize those are my readers. They were my readers. Those are people I want to read my content. Those are people that I'm targeting towards with my content. But they're not going to pay for the content. And that took me so long to realize. But once I realized that, wait a minute, the people that's going to pay me are the people that want my readers. Oh.
Yeah.
It is American Family Insurance. So it is. And so but that was such a for me, because I thought that you could only have one type of client. I thought you could only have one type of this. But with businesses, you really want to be able to know each client that you have, because they're always going to be different sectors.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so, I like to, remember, success leaves clues, right? So if I were you, and in a sense, Milky Way Tech Hub is in the media game, or becoming more and more present in the media space with the articles that we're writing. Look at Milwaukee Business Journal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they actually contracted us. So
yeah. But I take a look at their model, right? 40 under 40, that's revenue generating. I don't care what nobody says.
Well, there are a lot of media companies, and I've been wanting to do. I'm going to do a positive award, so maybe next year, but I've been wanting to do that for years. So that's a lot of, from the Milwaukee Press Club to the Business Journal. They have these awards. You have to pay to nominate. You have to pay to be a part of these events, and so that's the way.
You have to pay for the plaque. You have to pay for the plaque. You have to, pay for advertisements in the booklet. You know what I mean? That's revenue generating, right? Mm-hmm. So success leaves clues. So but you can see, they're not just saying, oh, the reader is my paying customer. No, they're finding other ways as well. And really, it's about your community. So if somebody is just saying, okay, I'm starting today, fresh, right after watching this Instagram Live, my first bit of advice is build community, right? At Milky Way Tech Hub, we started with community. But as you have that base, as Naisha said, right? Then you realize that there are people who want that community or want access to that community. That's where you start to see your paying customer start to emerge from that.
I can't wait to see a few years from now when we both millionaires and stuff, and you remember when, instead of me drinking a plastic bottle, I'll be having
you're gonna have your admin pouring you water while you
that bougie. I just but no, the last question I have for you is how I end all my interviews. When people rewatch this interview, what do you want them to get from me?
I hope that they are inspired. So this is recorded?
Yeah, this is recorded. Yeah.
Okay.
And all that. That's what was cut off. So we're gonna have the second half of the interview.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I'm looking back what did I say? I'd be talking crazy. I want people to be inspired to take on whatever vision that they have in their heads, and realize that the sooner you go at it, the sooner you start to make progress. And what is it that Will Smith says? Success is on the other side of fear, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you're doubtful, if you have fears, so does everybody. It's part of the journey. Just go for it.
No, I love it. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Nadiyah Stone. This is Carbon Stone, your weekly source of positive news. We have Nadiyah Johnson. Make sure to please follow her and the Milky Way Tech Hub. The Milky Way Tech Hub is spelled exactly like how it said. So definitely Google that, and you're going to see all the news coverage and everything that she has going on. This is our second to last episode of CNS IG Live with Positive Black Women. Nadiyah, thank you so much for not only doing this live, but just being a supporter of me and just like a colleague. And like, you know, I see you as a friend, so I really appreciate you. And we're going to keep growing together.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for having me. Take care.
All right, see you.